The purpose of this video is to show you a walkthrough of how to create an intervention and use some of the features within an intervention. This video is being filmed in a training server with fake students and fake data. Any likeness to a real student is purely coincidental. Since we first introduced Analytics and Insights, the Interventions platform has received a couple of updates, so I just wanted to go through and show you the process of creating an intervention with a few things that have updated over the last year or two. So first of all, we're going to make sure that we have navigated to Utility Apps and MTSS Interventions. On this page, if we already have an intervention created, we will see it here in our listing. But to create a new intervention, you can either click on Start New Intervention here, or you can go to the Intervention Bank. Either way, it takes you to the same place. What you're going to want to do here is search for your intervention that you need to use. If you do see this button, you're going to want to make sure that you do not click on that, because at this time we are asking that no one create their own intervention templates. If you have a need for an intervention that you do not find in the bank that has already been created, then you'll want to reach out to Christy Shankles at the ALSDE. She does have an intervention committee that will review any requests and they can be added if approved. So at this point, what you would do is find the intervention you are looking for. We do have interventions broken down and tagged as levels, so Tier 2, Tier 3. We also have types such as grade levels and different subject areas, foundational wellness, those things. So maybe I'm looking for a Math K5 and Tier 3. I'm just going to click off of that to apply those filters. And then I'm going to search through and find the intervention that I want to use here. Once I find that intervention, I can click on Use this plan to use it. I also have a search, so maybe I'm looking for a specific intervention that I know the name of, so I can just search for it to make it a little quicker. And I want to use this Do the Math intervention, so I'm going to click on Use this plan. Once my intervention screen pulls up, I can start to put in my data to get my intervention started. The first thing I see here is the intervention name. I want to make sure that I leave the name as is, but I can add anything to the end of the name. So maybe this is a group that I want to pull, so I'm going to call this Tankerslee's 11 a.m. group, or whatever I need to call it. Notice I have 150 characters, so I just need to make sure that I leave this portion as is and I can add anything to the end. The next thing is to go through these first three tabs, Students, Staff, and Schedule. I'm not going to add anything to resources. If there is anything for resources, it would have already been added in the template for you. So the first thing is Students. I can add an individual student just by searching for their name, clicking on their name, and clicking Add Student. And I can repeat that process as needed. I also have the ability to add students from group if I have groups created over on the dashboard. If you are interested in creating groups, we do have a video over on our PowerSchool Alabama edition page that shows you how to create groups so that when you click on this Add Student from Groups, you have a list of groups here that you can use to add students in bulk. We also have a separate video on our PowerSchool Alabama edition that shows you how to add students from in bulk from the dashboards as well. So I just added several students here, and I'm going to repeat adding my students until I have them all in. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Staff tab. This is where my name will automatically populate, but if I need to add any other staff members that need to be able to put in data, I can search for them here. I'm going to search by last name. Let's say their name does not populate when I search. What that means is that that person has never logged into Analytics and Insights. The system does have to recognize the user first by them logging in, and then once they do that, you can search for them. That is instant, so you can just go have them log in real quick, and then you should be able to search and find their name. And you would click on Add Staff. Notice that there is now an intervention owner. So whoever's creating the intervention automatically becomes the owner, but you can move that to another person if you need to. Maybe you're creating these interventions for other people just to get them set up, but Caitlin here needs to be the owner. So I can move that over and I can move it back just as easy. Whoever is the intervention owner has a little bit more ability with the intervention. They can do things like complete the intervention without giving each student an individual status. So I can repeat adding my staff members as needed. The next thing is the schedule. For my school year interventions, I want to make sure that I'm using my school year as my dates. So I can put in my start date. I'm just going to use a date in August as an example, and my end date is going to be my end of school. I want to make sure at the end of every year I come in and complete these interventions so that my school year interventions are completed. My summer interventions are separate. We actually even have summer in the title of those. And then next year we start new interventions for a new school year. Notice once I put in that date range here, I do have Saturdays and Sundays selected in my calendar. It's very easy to get those out. I'm going to click on this scheduling assistant, and for the repeat interval, I'm going to leave it at 1 week. That means that I'm going to repeat this same pattern that I'm going to select every 1 week. So I'm going to choose that I just want Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And I'm going to click Update Calendar, and that removes my Saturdays and Sundays. With this, I don't then have to go in and pull out holidays or spring break or anything like that, because when I print a report for a student, I can print dates with data only. So there's not going to be any data in on those dates, so I don't have to worry about it. But the main thing here is to make sure that we're using our start and end date for the school year so that we have the ability to provide this intervention and document it for any student that needs it throughout the entire school year, and you're not having to come back in here and extend these dates constantly. So I did my students, my staff, and my schedule, and now I'm going to click on Start Intervention. That is actually going to pull up my intervention for me. I get this little notification that that successfully started my intervention. Just a couple of things about these features. These are all links. So if I need to add any students later, I can click on that enrolled students link, and it's going to bring me back to this page. This is where I see their status. All students that are actively enrolled will have an enrolled status, or I can give them a new status of completed or one of the 3 withdrawn statuses. We do have a separate video on our PowerSchool Alabama Edition page that shows you how to add and remove students to an intervention throughout a school year. The next portion down are our dashboards that will start to fill out as we enter in data. We also have the notes feature. So if you need to document anything in the notes, you can click on this. The notes feature does allow you to put in a link, an image, format your text, and also document attachments are available here as well. You can choose to make your note public or private. Public means all staff members would be able to see it that are added, and private, only you. You can also link it to a specific date in the range that you selected and a specific student. So if this is a note concerning Kinsey and it is dealing with October 23rd, I can select that, I can type anything in, do my document attachment, save that note. Once I have notes entered, it kind of becomes a little bit like a Facebook post, and individuals that can reply, if it's a public note, would be able to reply here. You can also filter by students. So if we're in a PST meeting and we're discussing Kinsey and we just want to see Kinsey's notes, we can filter to just Kinsey's notes. We can also filter by date range, and we can also just see the attachments. The next portion down is the selected meeting area. This is where you're going to see your date range that you selected. Whatever date you have selected in this drop-down box is the date that you're entering in data for. So this is going to be very important to make sure your users understand. If I want to mark attendance for August 7th, I have to make sure August 7th is selected here. Below that, I have these different tabs that we're going to go through. The first one is the Student Overview tab. This is where every student gets their own individual card. It's all blank right now, but we're going to put in data and it will start to populate. The next tab is the Attendance tab. This is where I can mark attendance again for whatever day is selected in this drop-down box. I can do this individually by selecting. Just to remove it, you just click back on it. This is attendance for the intervention, not for school attendance. So did the student receive this intervention on this day? I can mark that. I can also mark time attended if I need to. You also have the ability to select your students and use your bulk options. And you can mark it for everyone. And then maybe Ken did not show up, so I'm going to fix his. If at any point you get through the year, you're starting to add and remove students, and when you try to click on this bulk options, it's shaded out and tells you you cannot add in data for students who have been completed or withdrawn. You do have a filter status over here that will pull those students out of your list for you so your bulk options works again. We do have a separate video for just that over on PowerSchool Alabama edition as well. The next tab is the Observations tab. This is where you can put in whether the student was engaged or disengaged. Same thing here with you do have bulk options. And Ken wasn't even there, so I'm not going to mark anything for him. If you are going to put in a note for a student on a particular day and you're here on this Observations tab, they do go ahead and give you the option to put in a note. So I can click on that. It will pull up my note feature. I have all of the same features I did up at the top. I can choose the visibility, but what this does, it automatically links it to the date and the student that I've clicked next to. I can still add an attachment, all the different things, but it just makes it a little quicker if I'm already here on the Observations tab. The next tab is the Goals tab. For our intervention templates, the goals will already be set up for you if there are goals available. Not every intervention template has goals created. If the one you chose does not have goals created, this tab would be completely grayed out and you would not be able to open it up. For those interventions that do have goals created, like I mentioned, they will already be listed for you. We do often get questions about whether or not goals can be changed. And so if you have any questions about the goals, you would reach out to, the department at the state that created them. But as far as you being able to edit the goals, that is not possible within the intervention. It's already set up for you. Remember that whatever day I have selected up here, this is the date I'm entering in any data for. So if I need to mark that the student is working with additions with sums to 100 and the first time they took it, they received a 50%. Notice the target is 80% here. Some of the targets are going to be a numeric value. Some of them may be something like grade level skills. This is for August 7th. If I move my date to the next day, notice I now have a blank slate and I can put in a different score however often I need, and it is going to chart my students' change and growth for me. I did not lose the data I put in on the previous day. It is still there. If I move back to it, I can see it. So all of the data, is date-based within here. If I come back over to my student overview, now you'll see that I have data on my student card here. I can see my chart, and I can also print a report for students. Let's say I want to print the report with this goal, any notes, and I want to make sure I choose dates with data here. It's going to open up that report in a new tab. We do have a separate video that shows you how to print reports for students and how to print them in bulk as well. This is a great report that gives you details about the intervention and an individual date-by-date listing of all of the goal data, attendance, observation data that you've put in. It even prints out that report or chart and any notes that you selected as well. So we also have a video that shows you how to complete interventions at the end of the year. Check those out. And then also a video that shows you how to enter in bulk attendance data, all on PowerSchool Alabama edition.